All right, so now let's look at question 2, interpret. Reread lines 11 through 14. How do you interpret the statement, heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter? So I will go back to the text for this, but notice it says, how do you interpret? Okay, so it's asking your personal opinion, which means you are the most important factor in this, and you're making your own personal claim, which your evidence is the most important here because, or your justification, I should say, because it's your opinion, right? And you want somebody to decide with you. So let's take a second. Your answers could have wildly varied here, but we'll go ahead and take a look at this. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, ye soft pipes play on, not to the sensual ear, but more endeared pipe to the spirit, ditties of no tone. So when they're talking about melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter, think about the difference between when you hear something, like playing on the radio, for example, and when you replay something in your head, or like an old wives' tale, right? Where you go, and not as culturally relevant, but you go out fishing, you catch a fish, the fish was actually about, maybe the length from your wrist to the tip of your fingers, okay? And then you go and you're telling everybody, yeah, I caught this huge fish, it was the size of my arm, right? So your memories in your head are always a little bit sweeter, they're a little bit better, more exaggerated, right? So for me, if I was going to answer this question, how do you interpret the statement, heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter? So to start with the claim, lines 11 through 14 suggest that unheard melodies are sweeter than heard melodies. Okay, this would be my basic claim, right? So if we're going to then give an explanation for this, Keats is suggesting that the music we imagine is even sweeter than the music we hear played on instruments, and I'm going to put in parentheses, or out loud, because the imagined music is both flawless, means there's no issues with it, and eternal. Okay? And then if we go back to our text, because we do want to try to incorporate some form of quote from the text. Are sweet, therefore your pipes play on, not to the sensual ear, but more endeared pipe to the spirit. So he's saying, like, not to the sensual ear, meaning it's not for us, it's for eternity. So let's go back. You know what? I put the Keats here, but we should, to be appropriate, put the speaker. Okay, the speaker is suggesting that the music of the urn should not be played for the, and we can put this in quotes, sensual ear, but an eternal one. Eternal one making the song of the piece live on forever. Okay. Now notice here, I did use this. This constitutes a sexual evidence, right? But I didn't use a whole line. I only used the phrase that I needed. So you feel free when you're answering these questions. If you only need 1 or 2 words to help emphasize your point, then only pull 1 or 2 words from your text. You guys have a habit of pulling, 2 full lines. You don't need 2 full lines for evidence for this. You need maybe a couple words from a line to get your point across, okay? But this is a pretty sufficient answer for number 2. So 3, identify patterns. What words are repeated in stanza 3? What idea does this repetition help develop in the stanza? Well, in order to answer this, we definitely have to go back to stanza 3. So here's stanza 1, stanza 2. So this is also part of stanza 2, and here's stanza 3. Ah, happy, happy bows that cannot shed your leaves, nor ever bid the spring adieu, and happy melodist unwearied, forever piping songs forever new. Forever new. More happy love, more happy love, forever warm and still to be enjoyed, forever panting and forever young. All breathing human passion far above, that leaves a heart high sorrowful and cloudy, a burning forehead, a parching tongue. So off the bat, you can see happy is repeated. It's repeated twice in the first line alone, and then it goes again. Line 25 has it 3 more times. And the other phrase that's repeated that should have stuck out to you is forever, forever, forever. I mean, we get it at the beginning of 3 lines within a 5-line span, right? So happy and forever are definitely the ones that are repeated. So what words are repeated in in stanza 3? In stanza 3, the words happy and forever, and I don't know why it's split there, it's probably just the way they spelled it then, are repeated several times. Okay, that's your claim. It's fine. What idea does this repetition help develop in the stanza? So if we go back to this, happy bows cannot shed your leaves, nor ever bid the spring adieu. Adieu means like goodbye. And happy melodist unwearied, forever piping songs forever new. More happy love, forever warm, still to be enjoyed, forever panting, forever young. So it helps develop the idea that this is never going away. It's timeless. And if somebody's happy, they're taking pleasure in something. So it's like this timeless pleasure. So if we go back to our answer, so the phrase, let's start with forever because that one's easier. Forever suggests that the piece is timeless. The piece is timeless. If something lasts forever, so we're getting into our warrant here. It's forever, it means it doesn't go away. Thus, this piece's song will never fade. Additionally, the phrase happy suggests a form of pleasure. And I'm going to use the word eternal pleasure. And eternal pleasure just means pleasure that lasts for eternity or forever. It's another way to say forever. Stanza 3 suggests that this timelessness and eternal pleasure brings more happiness than pleasures that change and decay or die. Okay, so this would be a decent answer. We teach claim, evidence, warrant as if they're completely three separate things. In this case, they do run together. But what I'm looking at when I grade your text is not that you have three separate ones, because obviously that can be really hard to do, but that you have everything. And what I want to make very clear to you is you should not be ending with evidence from the text. You should be ending with some sort of explanation, okay? All right, last one. Draw conclusions. Why might Keats have chosen to vary the rhyme scheme in the last 6 lines of stanzas? Now, this threw off almost everybody in the class, and I find it really funny because this was in the notes. Actually, the answer to this question was in the notes that you took. Some of you were saying there isn't a rhyme scheme, and that's not true. This was also in the notes, so I want to go ahead and take a second. It'll be hard to show you because I can't write on the text here. But if you go back to your annotations, which would have been here, that they asked you to annotate the text, the rhyme scheme was A, B, C, D, and then if we turn the page, E, C, E, D, okay? In the last 6 lines of every stanza, so from line 15 to 20 in this case, you have a rhyme scheme that is represented with the letters D, C, E, but they're never in the same order. So in this one, they were in the order of C, D, E, C, E, D. But if we go to the previous stanza, okay, and we work out the rhyme scheme, we have A, B, which again is the same, C, D, E, D, C, E. So this is a different variant of the rhyme scheme we had here, okay? And that continues throughout the entire poem, which is something that, again, was discussed in the notes. Now, the reason for why this happens was, ironically enough, also discussed in the notes. So when we talked about why we have this rhyme scheme, we talked about how it was complex, and these variations, and I'm gonna quote here from the notes a little bit. The rhyming becomes subtler and more unexpected as you move farther along in the stanza. And we talked about how the rhyme scheme can help, the variation can help keep somebody's attention. That's literally the answer for this one. So why might Keats have chosen to vary the rhyme scheme? So by varying the rhyme scheme of each stanza in the last 6 lines, the speaker helps keep the reader's attention, okay? However, this variant still keeps the poem's overall, I'm just going to say structure, because it does. It keeps the same rough idea of stanzas, the same number of lines. It just varies the rhyme scheme to keep the person on their toes. And then what I would recommend you do here now is giving some examples. So we went over the first 2 stanzas and then just talk about these stanzas in relation to the question, or any 2 stanzas for that matter.